What's up, everybody? Tony announces here with episode 2 of the Outfall Podcast for November 27th, 2013. I'm here with my buddy Jake. What's up, Jake?
Not too much, Tony. How you doing today?
I'm doing awesome because we've got some great, candid, and fun topics to talk to you guys about. And we're going to start it off with a little bit of controversy. I want to know your opinion, Jake, on the topic of abortion. Are you pro-life, pro-choice? Do you not give a shit?
Oh, God, that's a really difficult one there. I'd have to see the evidence, man. It's just, I think ultimately, when it comes down to my decision, it has to be the mother's choice, I think. I'm not one of these, well, I am Catholic, but I'm not one of these people running around going, condoms are bad, all that stuff. But, I think it is ultimately the mother's choice in the end. What do you think?
Okay.
What do you think?
You know what? I think I've got an interesting way of looking at this. Oh, that sounded a little bit douchebaggy, but that's okay.
Oh, it's okay.
What I think is that it depends on the mother's situation. I think that they should be able to choose, and I think also that they should be made to choose a certain way, considering, like, for instance, if you say, you knock up your teenage girlfriend, you both are really poor and you live on your own, you're in college or whatever. Yeah. I don't think that you should have the right to bring a baby into the world with that kind of inherent disadvantage.
Yeah, because what are you bringing them into?
Exactly.
Bringing them into a world where they cannot be supported. They probably can't be cared for. I'm only speaking this because it's what I would think. Can't be cared for in an effective, loving manner because especially like if you're trying to go to school, if you have a part-time job or something, you can't really support all of that.
Exactly. It's one of those issues that's very serious, and I don't think enough people are taking it seriously. So I do agree with pro-choice, but I think that in certain situations the choice could be made for you. Anyway, so that's enough of abortion. Let's get on to a more
topic.
Fun.
We need to do something a little bit lighter, more fun than that.
That's right. Okay, so next up, we've got a car safety coming up next, an alternative to airbags. This is my personal idea how to stop unsafe drivers.
You give yours, I'll give mine. You go first.
Okay, so my idea. Check this out. You know how there are usually airbags in the steering wheel and on the side? Well, my idea is, instead of having an airbag there, we have a giant spike in the middle of the steering wheel that's pointed upwards towards the head. So if you brake super fast or you rear end somebody, you're dead right there. Not only will that deter people from driving fast, the people that still drive fast will inadvertently die, and it'll make our roads a lot safer. That's my idea. What's your take on this?
I think that is a very ingenious and intuitive idea. On the way here to the studio this morning, I was driving and I looked at my car and went, SRS airbag. I have 6 of these positioned all throughout my vehicle. And I went, that's a little bit excessive. We just need to have, bear with me here, magnets mounted in the front and rear bumpers and in the doors even. Because you have the magnets, right? North and south poles repel each other. So if I'm driving towards you and I'm obviously having phone sex or something with somebody and you're stopped at a red light and I'm going to rear end you at 90 miles an hour,
right? My
north pole balances out with your south pole and I just go flying backwards into the car behind me, but our poles again counter-react, so I'm just stuck bouncing back and forth.
So you're saying that we should retrofit every automobile with magnets?
Yes.
Really powerful
T-bone, again, north and south pole. You can't have an accident.
Okay, so which side gets the north pole and which side gets the south pole for the T-boning situation?
The driver's side obviously gets the south, and the front of the oncoming car gets the north.
Okay, all right.
I think to me that sounds better. I am no doctor of physics, gravity, or anything involving magnets.
Let me propose this to you. Okay, in North America anyway, with the cars aligned how they are in the driving lanes, when you make a left-hand turn, that's in an intersection, that's when you're the most likely to get T-boned, right?
Yes,
and your passenger side is exposed.
Yes.
So I think the south pole should be on the passenger side if the north pole's on the driver's side.
That's true. That makes sense to me.
And then if you live in Great Britain or somewhere,
side.
Exactly, reverse the magnets.
Exactly. Britain has the best standard of driving because when you think about it, all the Germans drive along doing 150 miles an hour on the Autobahn, 3 inches from the car in front of them. The French are all crashing into fields and houses and stuff. The Swiss and the Norwegians, they can't stop sliding on the ice. And the Americans are all, belligerent, and the Australians are drunk. Britain apparently has the best standard of driving. People are going to hate me for saying that. Canada's second, though. Canada's second because we're
not too bad. We're pretty good.
We're not bad. We're good. We're pretty cautious. We're pretty considerate to other drivers here, I think.
Well, that's an interesting look at it. Can we do both magnets and the spike thing?
I think so.
That'd be good.
I can see one issue right off the bat, though, with that. when I'm coming up my north on your south pole and it inevitably stops me, I'm going to go forward. When the magnet bounces me back,
That's true.
I will probably be killed or severely. Well, your system will be designed brilliantly, so it will do its job and kill me. There will be no near misses.
That's right. So perhaps the spike idea is a little much, but if they ever do a third Death Race movie, I think that would be a cool little subplot.
I would pay $13 to see that in high def in 3D.
Can you believe movies are $13 nowadays?
Oh,
Unbelievable.
It is.
We're not even that old. Like I remember when it was like $8 or $9.
I'm only 38, and I remember when it was slightly cheaper when I was 18.
Yeah, no
but
kidding.
not much cheaper. But
and they charge like $3 for 3D. It's like, oh my god, I get to see it 3 inches closer to my face.
With glasses, not the little cool paper ones, actual irritating glasses. And I'm
That's
like,
right.
ugh. And last time I went to the movie theater to see Gravity, that fancy space one.
Oh, with Sandra Bullock.
98.9% of it is Sandra Bullock spinning around in space. I went and saw that and paid $32 for me and a friend to go see that movie.
Jeez, that's
and that
insane.
Wasn't even in 3D.
Wow, that's pretty pretty
Popcorn
ravaging.
with butter is expensive.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, usually I either pop my own, which I haven't done in a long time,
Stuck
or
in.
I go to a grocery store right next to there. I'm the guy that will just walk in with a grocery bag full of candy in front of the people, and I don't give a fuck.
I hear people do that.
Nobody cares.
See,
Like I walked right by the guy. You could see candy sticking out of the bag.
Dripping Skittles falling out of the bag, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
What are you going to actually do about it? Are you
That's
going
right.
to arrest me?
I looked at him.
To turn me away?
I looked at him, and I didn't dare him to do it, but I just looked at him like, if you're going to do something, go ahead. Otherwise, I'm going to go to my movie. And he was like, have a nice
You have a 5-second window right now, and I am timing it.
That's
4,
right.
3, 2, 1. You didn't take the opportunity. I'm going to walk past now.
Exactly.
Please stop my ticket.
Okay, so now that we're totally off of the topic of car safety, let's
good.
move on to the next one. I've got a question for you.
Certainly.
Mr. Jake, that is, who is the best James Bond?
Oh, that's almost more difficult to answer than the abortion question, I think. That's bad to say. It's the worst thing I've ever said. But I'd have to go with Sean Connery just because he is the original James Bond.
Okay.
But he was not the original choice. A guy you may know, those of you more keen listeners out there will know, if you know your James Bond, that there was a man named Cary Grant who was supposed to originally take on the James Bond role, but he said, "Oh no, dear good fellow, I can only do 2 tops." He didn't want it to be a big multi-picture deal, which James Bond became, because there's 23, they're working on their 24th.
Somewhere around there, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
He wanted to do 1 or 2 movies, so they went with their second choice, which was Sean Connery. So I think Sean Connery, actually each Bond contributes something to the character. I think Sean Connery is sort of the style, the movement, the way of interacting in the world. Roger Moore gave personality. Timothy Dalton gave kind of more feeling, and Pierce Brosnan was the look. George Lazenby doesn't count because he was an Australian. He was in 1 movie, and they were so bad they had to pay Sean Connery $2 million to come back and do Diamonds Are Forever, which was not a good movie either, but it was better than the last one. But I'd have to say Sean Connery if I had to pick.
Okay.
What about you?
The first one that comes to mind would have to be Roger Moore, just because I saw some of his movies first. I saw the really hilariously bad Moonraker first.
Oh, you saw Moonraker. I was Spy Who Loved Me.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I think Spy Who Loved Me, Then Live and Let Die. Some reverse order, but
yeah, I really like how Roger Moore does the character. That's not to say that I don't dislike any of the other Bonds at all. I think even Daniel Craig. Except I think those
Daniel
James
Craig.
Bond.
He's sort of he's the more kind of dark, kind of I kill people, cold blood kind of.
Yeah, and he's got he's really like edgy, and he's the other thing about the Bond movies is they've evolved from like a spy movie to more of they're more of an action flick, like an international across the country stuff, and there still is the spy elements, but like Skyfall, that no one can say that wasn't like pretty much a pure action flick. Like Bruce Willis, if he was British, maybe would have considered playing the role. I think it was that actiony.
Oh,
it was pretty good.
Yeah, you had the lack of hair and everything, but you can fix that.
Yeah, for
he
sure.
Looks just like Daniel Craig, if you're really drunk or something.
Just about, yeah.
Just about, but I think, to me, he kind of has changed the role of it as well. Like when Pierce Brosnan was James Bond, I'll just go back one actor to the 90s there. Pierce Brosnan was kind of the sort of high and mighty, sort of the super spy, whereas it was sort of like a status that was almost more unreal. All of those movies, that's why I didn't like them as much as the old classics from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, was that one was more, you couldn't relate to it as much. It just felt so unreal, everything that was going on in it, like ice palaces and Aston Martin Vanquish.
Oh my God, that movie was so bad.
The satellite and everything. Well, you have that in the old movies, but Daniel Craig's just sort of, for some reason, seems more, I don't want to say modern, I want to just say more, I look at it and I go...
He seems more like a real person, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like he's so much a character. Like, Pierce Brosnan was playing a character. Daniel Craig is playing James Bond. He is James Bond, it's what it feels like. And
besides he's a very realistic character. I think the situations such as him getting shot off a train and falling hundreds of feet into the water
and not dying,
recovering through sex and beer
because
and
sex
booze
and
on
beer is
a
the
beach.
Best thing for that, apparently.
That's right. That's
I
how
learned
you
that from that movie.
Yeah, that's how you cure life.
The title sequence and everything rolling. He survived through that.
Good. Yeah,
he survived through that.
That's pretty impressive.
That
was because you could see a lot of like painted grunts getting killed in that. That was pretty good. But Adele did a really good job on that theme.
I actually liked it very much. I thought she really outdid herself at that time. Really wonderful job.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so that's it for James Bond. That's enough of that. Let's get on to another character.
You're lucky. I was going to bring up and say, if we hadn't moved on, what about David Beckham? There's some rumor going on that he was going to wanted to play the new James Bond after Craig, and I just went...
I would not want a European football star
who owns
James Bond.
Who owns 6 Range Rovers and lives in Cheshire, or wherever he lives right now. I don't even know.
What the hell kind of name is Cheshire? That just makes you sound like a douche. I live in Cheshire.
I have a Bentley Continental GT parked between the pillars of my Jordan-style manor, and I have a drinks globe and onyx coffee table in my bathroom.
That's exactly right, Jake. That's where he lives, actually, is in Cheshire, so I apologize for calling you a douche. But
I live in Cheshire. I came all the way here to LA just to see you.
I appreciate it. You got the wrong location, though. This is in LA, buddy. We're up in the Great White North.
I know it's the LA. This is now
the LA
as of now it's the
Canada.
It's the LA of Canada.
This is true.
Go. I was interrupted. You're going to go on with something else there. Sorry about that.
We're going to move from one character to another character here, namely the Toronto crack smoking mayor Rob Ford, who is more like a Chris Farley character. I think
he is. I actually saw a picture of him fairly recently after his untimely demise there on the internet.
Chris Farley's not Rob Ford's.
Chris Farley, no. Rob Ford is still very much. He's very much
still running rampant.
He's still running rampant in the council chambers in Toronto. There, knocking people down. But and I saw that, and I just went. They're making a movie about Rob Ford. I saw him, and that was the first thing that came to my mind. I thought, first of all, I'm a horrible person, and second of all, Rob Ford is supposedly going to be in a movie, and you know who the only actor? I don't know if I've told you this already. The only actor they can get to play him is obviously going to be John Goodman. Obviously. It's the only person that can play him. Even though I like John Goodman as a person,
John Goodman's so funny. I would love to see him as Rob Ford, like with a gun at a drug deal. Yeah. Like, you fucking nihilists.
Being very old, getting mad at his iPhone and throwing it across the room, just being, technology,
Yeah.
But I think
you are entering a world of pain. Yeah. They do a Big Lebowski impersonation right there. That'd be so good.
And then Bruce Willis comes in, helicopter gunship shooting. It's a great movie.
Oh my God, that's pretty crazy. Okay, so my question about Rob Ford.
Interestingly enough.
The first one, yeah, exactly. What do you make of the whole him knocking over that woman in city council? I thought that was pretty good. That was almost CFL worthy.
Well, the funny thing that really got me about that whole report when they did it, I watched it on the Canadian network, but it was being reported on by Americans down south. So they're talking about it. And normally you don't get that in Canada. It's always us talking about the stuff that happens down there with their politicians.
Right.
And
we always
some
hijack
guy named
Stephen
Stephen Harper in Canada who has really nice hair that never moves, and he kind of puts pens in his inside pocket. It's not really interesting, but this has sort of caught their attention, which I think is really it's not cool. It is cool. It kind of has shifted the balance sort of more to us than them. But I would have to see with the context of what it was. So they were all, and they concluded at the end of this this clip of him. He was walking to leave the. I guess he was in city council. And
jogging, it looked like.
Yeah, jogging. He was going to leave, and then I assumed someone yelled something from the viewing stand at him, and he got, I'm going to come up there and just take you on. Like, he looked like he was running over to just dive bomb this person up the steps, and he turned the corner, whacked into this senator. I'm not a good journalist. I only watched it that once. I've been busy. I didn't get to. That is the one thing that I
shot for shot.
I wished I had researched it farther, but he knocked this poor lady over, and it was funny. I figured most big politicians would have done like that is they would have hit the lady, hip checked her, and then just kept running after the person they were going to engage, but he turned and he tried to catch her as she was going down, and I just was like, oh my God, this is such a ordeal going on.
That was almost
here.
chivalrous.
It was. Never mind the fact that he knocked a 70-some-odd year, if she's not that old, I apologize, your old lady down, but the fact that he made the attempt, not very successfully, to catch her and be like, oh no, I've knocked you down, I must grab her.
Well, the trouble is, he has trouble keeping himself up anyway, let alone...
When he was running, I'm like, oh my God, it's like watching a truck with 3 wheels. One of them's flat,
filled with all manner of abandoned tires and crack.
Yes, and molasses.
And molasses.
And,
that's right.
Yeah, that was just random there. But and I love my favorite thing about that entire scene I saw was when they concluded, and the Americans said, "This man represents the city of Toronto," and I just stopped and said to myself, "Oh." No. But apparently his popularity, I think, has gone up. I think it was the polls, most of the people have said, I can't remember if it was most of them or a majority. Well, it would be most
there
of them.
was a majority
said
anyway,
they wanted
I saw that
him,
report as well.
what was it they said? They wanted him to stay.
They wanted him to stay because of his tax policies. He's been lowering taxes for people.
They like that. And then...
In terms of his mayoral duties, he's actually not doing a bad job. People like the policies he's putting in place.
Now,
exactly. The problem is, well, I mean, most people are saying, "Oh, he's a terrible person. He's a bad role model. He smokes crack, and therefore he shouldn't be in office." Guys, if you have to run a giant-ass city like Toronto, biggest city in Canada, that's right, the biggest city in Canada.
Job.
It is.
It's a big job.
And, if you have to do a rail or two to chill out after a hard day's work, who cares? I feel like he should be allowed to let loose once in a while because he's not doing a bad job for the city. If anything, the only reputation he's ruined is his own, not the city of Toronto. He's bringing publicity to Toronto. And that's a good thing to have because, we Canadians don't get as much publicity as our down south counterparts.
Our brothers and sisters down south.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I agree with that. I can't imagine how unbelievably stressful running the biggest city in Canada must be. But I mean, you are a major public figure and you do represent, like I said, the largest city in Canada, one of our most well-known cities in the States. I mean, no one knows where Vancouver is, right? Unless you live in Seattle, even then it's kind of funny. But you should conduct yourself in a manner that reflects that duty. You shouldn't be like, it's like the Queen showing up to the House of Parliament or something, and she's all, well, I'm not going to say, but you get what I'm saying. It's a big job, so you should act in a manner that reflects that job, but. Find your ways.
Okay.
I think most bigwigs, don't they drink bourbon or something? Or
every single movie you see with any government official, whether they're a judge or a mayor or anyone, they always have a glass of bourbon or whiskey right next to them. They're always like, oh, we got to talk about something important. Break out the liquor.
Yeah, they have the crystal set on the desk over at the side there, in a little drawer underneath there, in the stationery off to the side, and I see it, and I go, I want that one day. I want to have, like Barney Stinson, I want an office, nice office with that, the drink set and a globe or whatever cabinet.
All
and
the
I want
motivational posters on the back wall.
Motivational posters, and I want a bathroom behind a concealed fake wall that I don't use.
Vote for Jake for Parliament.
Vote for Jake.
He would make a secret room for himself, and he would also lower taxes.
Yes, substantially. We would not be living the same system the Swedes are living. I can promise you that. We would be in rampant, not Swedish system right now.
A rampantly non-Swedish system. That's interesting. Okay.
Polar system to what the Swedes are living in. I actually quite like this Sweden. I like
Sweden's good. Well, I'm half Swedish, so I have to like them at least a little bit.
My ex-partner was primarily Swedish, so there you go. It's a lovely place. I've never been, but I've heard wonderful things about it. There's systems of living there. I've heard it is one of the happiest nations in the world.
One of, if not the most. I mean, how do you think they make such good porn? Swedish have...
I have not. I probably have actually been privy to that, but I have not off the top of my head.
Well, I mean, not that I categorize it by country with a written out list or on my laptop.
Australia would be pretty far down there, I think.
I would. I can't stand any more than one G'day, mate. That's too much. That's too much for me. Any G apostrophe anything, I can't deal with it.
G'day, mate.
Yeah. Good evening, miss. wanna put some shrimp on the bobby, if you know what I mean.
If you get what I'm
the
saying, there,
dingo's
lassie,
gonna get my baby. You know what I'm saying?
If you get me meaning, love, if you get me, that's kind of more like a York accent.
That was
now.
more. Yeah, that's it. Well, pretty much Australians are descendants from prisoners.
They were, pardon the term, convicted criminals from Great
Pardon
Britain.
the term.
Pardon my way of saying that.
Not that you
true.
guys are all criminals, but
No.
most of your great-great-grandparents are. So,
And mine are. Mine are all just British petty thieves.
I can't disclose my identity for.
I know
for
you're part of a
reasons I can't
secret
talk about.
organization and everything. Well, I am too, but I've already blown that. So, and I want to take this opportunity to inform you, the viewers, listeners, anything that I say that is offensive, just don't worry about it.
That's right. We should have done that.
We should have
disclaimer
started
at the
with that.
beginning. If you don't like coarse language or topics like this, where we deface entire nations, you may not want to tune in.
Yeah.
But this final topic we have going on, this is actually one that might be relevant to you guys.
Perhaps.
This is we're going to try to help you out. This is methods of coping. So we're going to be
Yes.
talking about when you deal with a loss, such as loss of a family member or a severe tragedy in your life. How can you deal with that and get over it? So I'm going to ask my buddy Jake some of his strategies for what he does to get over times like this.
It's a very good set of questions today, Tony. There's no one method for coping with grief, with loss. I find for me, I'm a people person. I need people. I need to be around people, like even just another friend, someone to share that good, someone I trust, that company with. I mean, not so much for consoling me on my loss, but to just make me feel like I'm not alone, I find is for me the most important thing. Some people are totally opposite. A very good friend of mine is completely the opposite from that. They shut off. They don't want to be around people. They go and do their own thing. Just like some people, when they're suffering with grief from the loss of a loved one, they will distract themselves, whereas other people wallow in their misery. I, unfortunately, am one of those people who initially grieves for a while. I don't get rid of it right away. Most people, like myself, will take sometimes months to get over something like that, and we will have periods where we can't function very well. So you have to have that grieving process.
For sure.
You need that.
And I think, as you said, it comes down to you got to figure out what type of person you are and how you grieve. Are you one of those people that needs people around you? Are you someone that needs to distract yourself so you can heal slowly? Or are you someone who just tackles it on your own, brute force? And the thing to remember is that, you're not alone. And in these situations, many people have gone through losses and such. And it's basically guaranteed there will be someone else who shared your experience or something to a similar caliber. So it's important to get the help you need, figure out what that is, though, and figure out what type of grieving you need to go through.
Exactly.
And eat chocolate. I hear that helps. That releases good chemicals in your brain.
Butterscotch ice cream. I hear people eat that all the time when they're sad. Another one. What's that other one? It's you get it in the little containers at the gas stations. That,
Haagen-Dazs or whatever.
It's the other one. I can't remember. It's like chocolate cookie.
Ben and Jerry's.
Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah,
that's it.
Right.
See how often I have
Chunky
to,
Monkey and all that
Chunky
stuff.
Monkey. Yeah, that's a good one. I've done that. I've indulged into that before. It's it helps. It
Those
makes the
guys,
day
they
go
know
away.
how to.
They know how to make
help
a good make you feel good ice cream. That's a cookie as well, and chocolate and a strawberry sundae. I don't know.
No kidding.
It's good. You know the good stuff. But and like people need, I think, the most important. I can only speak from my experience is that social network of help when they're grieving. I mean, not everyone's like that, but for me, I find I need to talk. I need to get things off my chest. I need to grieve, but I need to know that there are people there for me. Some people will say it's needy. Human nature is to grieve, right?
That's true, exactly.
Even people who don't specifically say grieve per se, they have their own grieving process. So it is there, right? I mean,
and we are programmed to be with people, so it is a natural thing to rely on other people when you're in a time of crisis. So for sure, that makes sense. So in conclusion, get the help you need. Figure out what type of grief you're going through and how you can survive the process, and take the steps necessary. Don't put your mental and emotional well-being on hold. Take some time off if you need it.
Always.
Do what you have to do, but get yourself right before you move on, because if you bottle it up inside, you got to deal with it somehow. And if you don't, it'll build up and build up, and it'll culminate in a big, bad moment, which you don't want to happen.
No, not at all, because that just leads to more pain and more hurt in the end. And who needs that, right?
That's right.
What does that give you?
So on that happy note, I'm gonna
non-bombshell.
That's right. So thank you very much to Jake for coming in today. It's been a pleasure having you.
My pleasure, Tony. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to come work with such a wonderful man like yourself.
Oh, well,
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thanks a lot. And you guys, if you have any more questions or topics you want to send in, leave them in the comment section below or send me a message. And if you'd like to be on the show as well, let me know. I will be sure to hit you up and we'll get it going. Thanks a lot for listening. This has been the Outfall Podcast number 2. And I'm Tony Announces saying have an awesome day.